It's your boy Concert Vids 34, and this is part 2 of my Farm Aid 2018 review. Before I get started with talking about what I learned, one of the things I wanted to bring up about Farm Aid that hopefully is a positive step for the Xfinity Theater is the danger that fans were putting in the lawn. I got a comment on my previous video, and thank you for that comment. I should have pulled it up before, but thank you for that fan who did post a comment. I've seen different comments on Facebook groups and also in forums about other fans. Now, the issue with Hartford was the lawn should be able to hold 22,000 people without lawn chairs. The venue has about 7,500 seats, and then the lawn varies. But there were 24,000 announced ticket holders, or just over 24,000 ticket holders for the show on Saturday, meaning you take away 7,500, and that's well below the 22,000 that if you took away chairs, people could fit comfortably. I've been on the lawn with 22,000 people, no lawn chairs, and it's scary enough. What went on with fans there were they were literally trapped. If there was an emergency, if there was a fire, if there was an explosion, if there was an evacuation, people would have unfortunately been seriously injured or worse. And hopefully the Xfinity Theater does look at this if there's another Farm Aid specific event where you have a festival that's as popular as this, you have a fundraiser as popular as this, and it's going to be for 10 plus hours. Yeah, you need people to sit, but you need to either sell the lawn for well under the 20,000, 22,000, so that everyone can fit with chairs, or you say people no chairs. I walked from Market Street Garage to the Xfinity Theater. Everyone had chairs that was pretty much going to the lawn. I almost wanted to tell them, turn around, they're not going to let you in with them. That's what they do with sellouts. Well, lo and behold, they let everyone out. Shout out to Project Brewer. Yeah, I enjoyed Dave and Tim. But that's just my quick spiel about that. Hopefully, this isn't Farm Aid's fault. This is the Xfinity Theater's fault or chance to learn. I've shared my review with the venue. They emailed me because I bought a ticket. I was actually able to get a ticket, unlike I beat the scalpers out for a single seat. But I shared my review to them, like they had a little ranking thing out what you felt. Hopefully this does change, because again, one of my concerns with Hartford in general, which I should make another video about, is if there was an emergency, there's not many exits, even if you let people go through VIP. But I'll leave it at that. I want to talk about what I learned at Farm Aid and how I'm going to change after Farm Aid. So, like I said in the first video, you hear stories about struggling farmers everywhere. I know people who own small businesses in Connecticut, and I've seen the struggles of any industry in Connecticut with the taxes, with people moving out of the state, with people having limited budgets where they want to go to a mom and pop store, but they can't afford a washer and dryer at a mom and pop store because their income is being cut. The taxes are going up. So what I learned is I was able to see real life situations in my state from Jason Greenbacker and his daughter Melissa in the Brookfield farm, and happens to be in Durham, Connecticut, just outside of New Haven, and seeing that farm had to shut down. Now, it was in the news, but with all the BS in the news with politics and all the other stuff, I didn't even realize this happened, which is very sad, because this is an issue that's more important than these political parties debating each other, but it didn't get as much exposure. It got exposure. Sure, if I watched the news that day, I would have seen it. But you don't see as much as you see the Trump and this and that and the Democrat, Republicans. But that's a sad thing. This is a family, Jason and Melissa, his daughter. Their family has been tending this land since the 1700s, and they had to shut down the farm. Another example of something I learned is another dairy example, because these Jason Greenbacker and his family, I believe they're through Cabot. They were through Cabot Farms. They were a dairy provider for the state of Connecticut, and I believe through the larger kind of regional Cabot Farm family. And then we have Kai's Orr and her family, her mother and her father, who passed away. When it comes to the farm, the Fort Hill farm out there in Thompson, Connecticut, right in Eastern Connecticut, where I went to college, not too far from where I went to school in Willimantic for my college days. So to hear her story, and just to explain, I'll post the links below. But long story short, her father had was very ill, and he just decided to literally take away his life to sacrifice for his family. He figured the medical bills were so expensive, the farm would be better off without him, which is a sad and tragic situation. But that is the real life situation. These farmers are sacrificing everything. He did this for his wife, for his kids. Now, again, and it's a sad way, and it's not, necessarily something. We really hope that this situation does. There is people. People can get help, because farmer suicide is a real issue. I learned about as well, reading on Farm Aid's page a couple weeks ago. But that's what he thought he had to do for his family, because of the dire need of milk prices, because they're set nationally. And in Connecticut, if you live in Connecticut, everything is so much more. Sporting events are more. You try to go to a show in New York, Boston, Yankees, Red Sox, they're more than any other, even with Chicago and other parts of the country are. Tickets are more for that. Cost of living is more. Everything is higher in the state of Connecticut, in New York, in Boston. And since the milk prices are set nationally, their overhead, their taxes, their fees, they're so much more expensive in Connecticut. And that's why Jason had to sell the Brookfield, his cows, and get, close business out while they were a little bit ahead and had equity versus what could have been worse. And that's why Kai's Orr's father thought he had to do what he had to do for his family so that they could continue in Connecticut. And I will be making an attempt to go out to the Fort Hill farm either this fall. If I don't have time this fall, I'm going next summer, and I'm bringing friends to the Fort Hill farm. Even though it's about a 90-minute drive, for me, I'm still going, because I want to support this farm. We had other examples that I could touch base with. We had Eric Henry of, I think it was the Blue Hills Orchard out in the Wallingford area, which is just in central Connecticut outside of New Haven. And we had Willie Cicerelli, has a farm in Northford, which is pretty much part of North Haven. I believe it's a village or section of North Haven there. And their stories were also very interesting and riveting as far as the struggles they were going through. And then we also saw, with these stories of struggle and difficulty, we also saw stories of hope. There's a market in the south end of Hartford, and I was actually there a couple weeks ago by chance with someone I know, and this is actually a locally owned grocery store that has a lot of fresh produce, and it has plans for people with lower income or are struggling financially, to have incentives to, hey, if you add a couple items of produce to your groceries, you're going to get this amount off, or you're going to get, next time you come, you get a $5 voucher. This is a great program, and I literally was there a couple weeks ago. I didn't realize what type of market or what type of grocery store it was, and the place was packed, which was amazing, because one of the issues that touched on is when you live in Hartford, Connecticut, when you live in any major city, it's very hard to get access to fresh produce. Even Hartford's very small. It's not New York, it's not Boston, but still, when you want to go to get fresh produce that's not Walmart crap or like a discount store crap, but like fresh vegetables, you got to drive. And you know what? A lot of people in Hartford either have one car or they share a car, or many of those people just walk or take the bus to work. So they don't have the transportation to get out to the suburbs, which, yes, they're only 25, 30 minutes away. But if you don't have a car in Connecticut, you can't just, I don't know if anyone, whoever lives in Connecticut, y'all know how it is. You have to have a car to leave a major city like New Haven, Waterbury, or Hartford. You can't walk it. It's just too dangerous. You can maybe bike it, but that's even also dangerous, because they don't have a lot of places for you to bike without cars whizzing by, people texting on their phones. So This market provides local produce from real farms, real local farms, which was awesome. And then you have Bridgeport, Connecticut. You have a little plot of land that was just kind of vacant, and they made areas for people to grow fruits and vegetables and things like that. And they're letting the kids get in on this. They're letting kids learn over the summer, and hopefully the goal is to learn during the school year, that every kid that goes through Bridgeport Public Schools could have access to go to one of these educational lessons or educational events down there to learn how to grow and plant fruits and vegetables. And also they help to sell that locally to the people of Bridgeport, which again is a great thing to have that local have local farms that aren't in the city, just outside of the city, and even urban farmers that come to some of these markets. In Hartford, there's the No Good Market, and that wasn't featured, but I just know about that. And then you have one in Bridgeport where even urban farmers, you could live in a city and still have spots to farm and have a little area and then sell that stuff to your own community. So you can help your local community if you live in a city to help them be profitable on vegetables and fruits instead of other stuff, scamming or other, whatever stuff. And that's a beautiful thing to have this idea of an urban farmer existing in a city like Bridgeport and creating a new job, market right there. So that's really, it was an eye-opening local adventure for me to see all this stuff that was, I remember playing hockey in Northford when I used to play Greater New Haven back in my hockey days. I've been out to Wallingford. I went to school not too far from Thompson. It's, maybe 15, 20 miles through back roads from where that Fort Hill farm is when I went to school in Willimantic. And so it really made me see real life situations. And also with the music that was played, every artist had a message, some more than others, some more aggressively than others. Everyone had their different special way of having the message be heard. And that also influenced me to hear Neil Young take time from his set to preach about this. This isn't just something they're doing to be cool. This is something they're doing to make true change. And also the thing with Farm Aid, none of these artists are actually getting paid. I don't know the back end of, obviously they're going to get catering. Obviously they're going to get VIP treatment. But they're not getting paid to do this show, which is amazing. I know fundraisers are fundraisers, and many of these fundraisers happen with no salary. But these people are in the middle of tours. They're routing all their equipment and everything to get off course to what they could have been another show to make money and to pay their own tech guys, just to prove a point of why Farm Aid is important. And that's the other thing that I really respect is none of these people are getting paid. They're literally doing this out of the kindness of their heart and sharing a little bit of their time to get their fans to come out. Because I came out because I wanted to see Neil Young. I wanted to see Mr. Mellencamp. I wanted to see Chris Stapleton. Finally seeing him. And Sturgill Simpson, that boy was good. But they do that to get me out. And what have I learned? Well, I learned a lot locally. And what am I going to do? What's my plan of action? Well, I'm going to go visit the Fort Hill farm at some point. And I know Kaiser and I believe her boyfriend and her mother are still working hard at that farm. And shout out to them. I'm going to get some ice cream next year on my cheat day in between my runs, jogging up and down these streets. And then what am I going to do as well? I'm going to remember to go to more farmers markets. Now, growing up, and this is only like 5 or 6 years ago when I was back living in my mom and dad's crib, and even 10 years ago when I was in high school, my parents have always supported farmers markets. But I realized as I've left to live on my own now, I'm not going like I used to. They used to just buy stuff. Shout out to Granny's Pie Factory, East Hartford, Connecticut. Y'all used to always pull up to the South Windsor Farmers Market, and my mom used to get me a pie. My mom had a farmers market out in Springfield area because she works in Mass Mutual, and she used to get me this amazing ciabatta bread that had cheese cooked into it. And unfortunately, they had to, that farm, the farmers that made that, I think they relocated I don't think it was because of finances, it was because of something else, but still, some of my best sandwiches of my childhood were from this farmer's market bread, which was amazing. And same thing with the vegetables my mom cooked with. She would get them from farmer's market towards 2006, 7, 8, 9, when they were starting to come back in the Northeast. I don't know about the rest of the country, but farmers markets started making a comeback recently in the last decade. So that's all I got. Wow, I'm already at 15 minutes, but I'll post some links. Thank you, Farm Aid, for educating me. I wish I could have been to more of the events in the tent and be able to talk about those, but it just was, things happened and life happened. I had to take care of my grandfather that day, and I couldn't get in early enough to enjoy time in the tent as I like to. I walked through it, listened for a little bit to a session, and then had to get into the venue. But this will be a learning experience for me, and I hope many of you guys will continue to support farmers markets, support local farmers. To me, I am going to make changes to go to farmers markets local to where I live here in Connecticut. And again, shout out to all you guys, especially the ones I think about that most impacted me is Kaiser and her situation and her family's tragic situation. And then also Jason Greenbacker and his daughter Melissa, who had to give up their farm. And hopefully there's a way for Melissa to have a new opportunity in the farming industry and continue her family's legacy. That's all I got. It's your boy ConcertFist34, another long video. Definitely like, comment, subscribe. I don't know what I'm going to do, but that's it. I'm out. Peace.